Alright, we got our Unit 3 Test 2 review. This is 34 questions long, so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. Try to keep it under 30 minutes. That's my goal. So, let's jump to it. Starting out with parallel and perpendicular lines here. We have, uh, we're creating an equation, or finding the equation that is perpendicular to y equals negative 3x plus 4. I know perpendicular, according to my orange notebook, means opposite reciprocal slope. My slope here is negative 3. Opposite reciprocal of that would be a positive 1/3. So my slope has to be positive 1/3, and it has to go through 9 comma 2. So I have x1, a y1, and here's my m. So I'm going to set up nope, y minus 2 equals m, 1/3, x minus 9. Now I can distribute 1/3 x, 1/3 times negative 9. Do not mess up your negative signs, please. Minus 3. Y minus 2 is 1/3 x minus 3. I want to get rid of the minus 2. So plus 2, and I end up with y equals 1/3 x. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. If I were on the test here, I would go to Desmos, type in, oh, drop my pen. I would graph y equals 1/3 x minus 1 to make sure it is perpendicular to the original line. I'd graph the original line too to see them together. And I would even graph 9 comma 2, make sure it goes through there. Question number 2. We have thinner pen. There we go. And red one here too. There we go. Much better. I now need a line parallel to 2x plus 4y equals 12. I know parallel means same slope. I need to know the slope of this line here. It is not in y equals mx plus b form. I need to put it in y equals mx plus b form. 2x plus 4y equals 12. I want to get the y by itself. Minus 2x to both sides. 4y is negative 2x plus 12. Divide by 4. And y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. There's my slope, negative 1/2. I have to have the same slope, so that is my m there. I know I'm going to use that for my m. I'm going to highlight it. Now, y minus y1. They give me the x1 and the y1, so y minus negative 2 equals m, 1/2 x minus, I'm going to finish, I know y minus, that's a plus, I'm going to fix that now. So y plus 2 equals, distribute, negative 1/2 x, negative 1/2 times negative 8 is positive 4. Use your calculator if you're not sure about that. Last thing I need to do is get the y by itself, minus 2 to both sides. And y equals negative 1/2 x plus minus 2 is 2. The equation. That should be parallel to this line here, and it should go through 8 comma negative 2. Number 3, create an equation that is parallel and an equation that is perpendicular to this line. This line here, I need to know the slope. Everything always depends on the slope. If I look at the slope here, my rise and run, negative 3 over 4 is the slope. So that is a negative 3/4 slope. Parallel has to have the same slope. All that matters is the slope. So as long as it has the same slope, negative 3/4 x plus the plus b makes no difference at all. Plus 100 would work. The perpendicular just has to have the opposite reciprocal slope. That's a negative, I need a positive. That's 3/4, I need to flip it 4/3 x. And again, the y-intercept makes no difference. I'm going to make that 200. That is my perpendicular line. Moving on to nth term. Find a formula that can be used to find the nth term of these patterns. What would the 30th term of each pattern be? Number 4, I need to set this up. A sub n equals, it's going to look like mx plus b, except instead of x, I'm going to have an n as my variable. M is the rate. It's what we're counting by. This is all in your orange book if you forgot this. The M is what we're counting by. It looks like plus 2 as I move forward each time. So A sub n equals 2, oh, not x, 2n. The b is my starting point, but it's the 0th term. It's back here, not 4th, that's the problem number. It's the previous number in the pattern, the 0th number in the pattern. So if I'm plus 2 to the right, that means I'm minus 2 to the left, which would be minus 7. There's the nth, the formula to find the nth term. The 30th term would be when I plug in 30 here. So 2 times 30 plus negative 7. That could also be minus 7, not plus negative 7. Either way. 60 minus 7 is 53. Next one. A sub n equals, looks like we are counting by tens. 10n plus previous term would be 50. To find the 30th term, a sub 30, we would do 10 times 30 plus 50. That is going to be 300 plus 50, 350. And the last one, we are counting, let's go back to red, down by 3s, it looks like in this pattern. So negative 3n plus, I'm going minus 3 to the right. That means if I back up to the 0th term, I need to add 3. So 98. And now I plug in 30. Negative 3 times 30 plus 98. Give me negative, oh, no, negative 90 plus 98 is positive 8. The 30th term would be 8. That would technically be a sub 30 to get technical. There we go. F of x goes through negative 1 comma 6 and 1 comma 12. G of x goes through 3 comma negative 4 and is parallel to f of x. Find the equation of g of x. So g of x, I know it goes through this point. That's my x1 and my y1. The slope is going to be found from that right there. It is parallel to that right there. I know parallel means same slope, so it has to have the same slope as that line. Well, the slope of that line, I use a slope formula. 12 minus 6 over 1 minus negative 1 would be 6 over 2, which is 3. So, same slope as 3. Then after that, it's just point slope formula. Y minus negative 4 equals 3 minus 3. Y plus 4 minus negative, change to plus, equals, and we're going to distribute 3x minus 9. I want the y by itself, so subtract 4. Y equals 3x minus. Next one, we have similar type question, but now we are perpendicular to that line. Perpendicular means opposite, reciprocal slope. So we need to find the slope. Slope formula says 8 minus negative 2 over 11 minus 6 minus negative is plus, so that's going to be 10 over 11 minus 6 is 5. That has a slope of 2. I need the opposite reciprocal of 2, which which is negative 1/2. There's my m. So use this coordinate here. Now, 1, and there's y1. So point slope formula. Y minus negative 7 equals negative 1/2 x minus negative 14. Distribute negative 1/2 x. This is a plus 14. So if I distribute, negative 1/2 times positive 14 is negative 7. Y plus 7 equals all that. Minus 7 to both sides, and I get y equals negative 1/2 x minus 14. That is perpendicular to f of x, and it goes through that coordinate. Double check your answers with Desmos. Double check my answer with Desmos. Hope I'm right. Last one, 9, 10, 11, and 12. This video's taking longer than I thought. Let's speed it up. Number 9, create an equation steeper than the line above. A warm-up like that today. Steeper just means bigger slope. So higher slope. So y equals anything higher than 3. I'll say 5x minus 2. Flatter means smaller slope. So anything smaller than 3, y equals 1x minus 2. Bigger slope will make it higher or steeper. Smaller slope will make it flatter. Number 11, create an equation shifted higher than the line above, meaning the original line there. Shifted higher is talking about the y-intercept. Y equals 3x, anything higher than negative 2. So careful with higher than negative 2. I'm going to go positive plus 4. Create an equation shifted lower. So again, all we're looking at is y-intercept here, 3x. Lower than negative 2 is something like negative 7. Next page, direct variation. Y varies directly with x, and y equals 12 and x equals 8. What is y when x equals 20? If you're just trying to find y, we can cross multiply here. So I'm going to look at y over x. 12 over 8 equals, I don't know, over 20. Butterfly, whatever you want to call it. 12 times 20 equals 8 times, I don't want to call it x, I want to call it y, because that's what I'm trying to find, 8 times y. 12 times 20 is 240 equals 8y, divided by 8, and y equals 240 divided by 8, is that 30? I hope. Yes. Yep, 30. Y varies directly with x, and y equals 4 when x equals 8. Now we have to find the k, the equation, and this y value over here. K is y over x, which is 4 over 8, which reduces to 1/2. Our equation now, y equals kx, is just going to be y equals 1/2 x. If x is 22, then y equals blank. Well, take my equation, y equals 1/2 of x. X is 22. Half of 22 is 11. Number 15, very similar problem. Oh, hang on. Okay, now that it's quieter. Very similar problem, except we're looking at a real world situation here. Not just x's and y's. We have calories and ounces of a cake. The amount of calories, which is my y. So calories is y, varies directly with the size of the cake, which is x. Oh, X. 6-ounce slice has 350 calories in it. We need the K. K is Y over X. That is calories over size. That is 350 over 6. That is calories per ounce. 350 divided by 6 is, I have no clue, 58.3. This is a time when we do want to convert this to a decimal. I'm not sure what that would be. It looks like 175 over 3 maybe as a fraction. I have no clue how many calories 175 thirds is. That's not what we would want to talk about in this situation. 58.3 calories per ounce. The equation y equals kx is y equals 58.3 x. Yeah, x. Bigger. And a 10-ounce slice, y equals 58.3 times 10 would be 583 calories. The way they write these, the order that they write them in, y varies directly with x. That the order matters. Down here on number 16, they don't tell you which one y and x is. But y, the price of gasoline is going to be y. Price varies directly with, this is the same thing as varies directly with, is proportional to x. So this is my y, this is my x, the gallons. 5 gallons of gasoline costs 10.48. So 10.48 over 5. That is y over x. That is my k. 10.48 over 5. 10.48 divided by 5. 2.096. Doesn't round off to be the best, but oh well. $2 and 9, rounding about to 2.10. That's a stupid number. Who made this problem? 2.096, whatever. I guess we'll deal with it. Stupid math teacher. 10.096. Wait a minute. Not 10. What did I do wrong? 2.096. Did I type it in right? 10.48 divided by 5. 2.096. I almost messed that up. 2.096 is my k. The equation is now y equals kx. 2.096 x. And 8 gallons would cost how much? 0.096 times 8. Do that times 8. $16.77. We're rounding up. $16.77. If your number is slightly off because you rounded, that'd be okay. If you wanted to round your K to 2.10, that would work. Just because we're looking at money, so it would make sense there. It'd give you a very slight difference in this, the price per 8 gallons. Determine if the following functions are direct variation. If they are, find the constant of variation. Constant of variation, that is K, that's the slope. Equations are the easiest. Straight line through the origin. Graphs are the easiest. That is not a direct variation. That is a direct variation. With the slope, it looks like up 1 over 1, k equals 1. Tables are the next easiest. If y over x is the same everywhere, then it is. 15 over 5 is 3. 24 over 8 is 3. 42 over 14 is, I think, 3. 3. So yes, that is. The constant of variation is 3. This one, 6 over 2 is 3. 8 over 3 is not 3. 3 crossed out. And 10 over 4 is not 3, so that's not a direct variation because they're not all going to be the same. Equations are probably the trickiest. They can be written as y equals kx. If I get y by itself, minus 4x to both sides, y equals negative 4x plus 4. That is not y equals kx because of the plus 4 at the end. Not a direct variation. 20. If I get y by itself, I have negative 4y equals negative 5x. Divided by negative 4. Then we get y equals 5/4 x. Yes, that is a direct variation. K equals 5/4. This one here, I want to get y by itself. I want to get rid of this the minus 12 by doing plus 12. And y equals 4x. Negative 12 plus 12 cancels out. So actually, yes, that is y equals kx. Constant variation is 4. This last one, y equals 2 divided by x. That is not y equals k times x. So, not a direct variation. Uh-oh, 21 minutes in. Promised 30 minutes. I'm not even close. I gotta speed up. Or just make it more than 30 minutes, I guess. Scatter plots. We have this scatter plot we're trying to find the equation for, or the trend line. I need 2 coordinates on the trend line. They do not have to be the coordinates given to you as a dot. They can be any coordinate on nice pretty lines. I see that as a good one, and I see that is pretty close to a good one, close enough for me to use. That is 4, 20. This is 16, 4. I need the slope and then point slope formula to get the equation. Hopefully we're pros at this now. We've been doing it forever. 4 minus 20 over 16 minus 4 is negative 16 over 12, which is 4/3. We're looking at hours watching TV and hours spent studying. So what would this be? For every hour you spend watching TV, that's 1 less hour or for every 4 hours you spend watching TV, that's 3 less hours you spent studying. So I guess moral of the story is don't watch TV and study instead. Anyways, that's my M. I now need to do the point slope formula. Y minus, I'm going to go with this point. So y minus 20 equals M, negative 4/3 x minus 4. Y minus 20 equals negative 4/3 x plus 16/3. I'm getting into an ugly decimal or ugly fraction here. It would be okay to convert this to a decimal if you wanted to, especially since now we're adding 20 to it. Y equals negative 4/3 x plus 20 plus 16/3. What is that? 20 plus 16/3 is 25.3. I don't know if y'all can hear Townsend singing in the background, but she is. 25.3. There is the equation of the trend line. Now, here's a little mini lesson. One thing I didn't quite fully teach you. I mentioned it in passing once or twice. It is a very minor little topic. You will see one question on your test over this. But it is good to know because there's been a question on the STAR test every year over this too. The correlation coefficient. when you find the equation of a trend line on Desmos, which we're about to do right here twice, it gives you the M and the B to write the equation. It also gives you the R value. The R value is the correlation coefficient. It measures how accurate the trend line is, or how strong the data's relationship is. So, a couple examples. This first, well, look over here first. The closer this R value is to 1, the stronger the relationship is. So if the R value is 1, that's a perfect positive correlation. That is like this example over here. This is almost 1. That, if you want to call it a scatter plot, is almost a perfect straight line. That is very strong, nearly perfect. Next, we're looking at 0.7 or above. Is a strong positive. So this little scatter plot here, those dots are in a very clear positive pattern. That's 0.78 for its R value. That's a strong positive correlation. Anything above 0.7. 0.3 through 0.7, that's kind of in the middle. That's medium, around 0.5-ish. It's a medium positive. Here, this example, it is a negative because it goes down. Those dots are starting to get very spread out compared to over here, at least. These dots are kind of outside the trend line. That is a negative 0.57 R value, correlation coefficient. So that is a medium negative correlation. And then once they start to get so spread out, it almost doesn't look like it goes up or down or anything. 0.3 or below, that is a weak positive, or if it goes down, a weak negative. So this trend line here barely goes through the data. You can't really tell. If you were drawing the trend line, you wouldn't know where it goes. You would need some sort of technology to draw that trend line there. But that is a 0.22 correlation coefficient, so very weak positive correlation. Only way you can get this correlation coefficient here, these numbers, is with Desmos. So have to have Desmos. Now we're going to use that, what we just learned, to answer this question down here. Use Desmos to find the equation of the line of best fit and find its correlation coefficient, the R value. According to the correlation coefficient, is this a strong, medium, or weak positive relationship? So we got to go to Desmos, graph these points. I think I already have that done. Yes, I do. Yes. So that's the scatter plot. High numbers, they're not going to be visible. I zoom out. There they are. This looks like a negative correlation. Uh-oh. It says positive in your review. I'll have to fix that. I need the equation. To get the equation in your orange notebook, we wrote y1 squiggly equals, oh, there we go, mx1 plus b. It gives you the trend line through the points, and it gives you the m and the b down here. Right here, m is -5, b is 125. So that's going to be y equals -5x plus 125. That's what the Desmos trend line is. Again, I got the m from here, -5. The b is 125. The r value, -0.94. That is very high. That's close to 1. Look back up here, -0.94 is going to fit in this range here. It's a perfect, almost, well, sorry. Now, what am I doing? I'm just talking and not thinking. 0.94 is going to be in this range here, 0.7 or above. That is a strong positive correlation if it were a positive number. If we look back here, though, this is a negative trend line, a negative 0.94. So go back to here, and this is a, I'll have to fix this. Good thing I haven't made copies yet. This is a strong negative correlation based on our R value of -0.94, was it? -0.94. So -0.94 gives us a strong negative. If it were positive 0.94, it'd be a strong positive. Plot the scatter plot on Desmos, find the equation to the trend line, use this equation to predict how much in sales Ron will make if 150 customers show up to his store. What does the correlation coefficient tell you about the strength of this relationship? So again, plot it on Desmos. I have it plotted here. There we go. That looks kind of flat. But let's see what they tell us. Y1 squiggle mx1 plus b. Here's my m, 0.062. I'm rounding that to 0.062. The b is 0.25. So y equals 0.062x plus 0.025. That is the equation. First, I want to make my prediction. 150 customers. I'm going to plug in 150 for my x. 0.062. So I'm going to go do that with Desmos calculator. 0.062 times 150 plus 0.25. That gives me 9.55. So about 9 or 10 sales. Technically it rounds up, so I will round it up to 10 sales. If 150 people come in Ron's building, we should expect to get 10 sales. Now, what does the correlation coefficient tell you about the strength of this relationship? Correlation coefficient is 0.6, or sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. 0.5368. That is not very close to 1. That's about right in the middle. According to here, anything in between 0.3 and 0.7 is a medium positive. So this is a medium positive correlation. What that means is that the dots are pretty spread out, and this prediction for 10 sales probably will not be very accurate. Those dots don't look to be very close to the trend line, not near as close as the last example at least, where those dots were almost on it. Here they're pretty far off, so a lower correlation coefficient. And did I answer everything? Yes, I did. 32 minutes. I'm overdue. Number 28, draw the graph of a function that is a direct variation. Straight line through the origin. That's close enough to the origin. There's my direct variation. Draw the graph of a function that is not a direct variation. Not a straight line, or not through the origin. So, two bonus example. Two things that are not direct variations. One's not a straight line, one's not through the origin. Even if I took that squiggly line through the origin, still not a direct variation. Oh, get on there. There we go. Still not a direct variation because it has to be straight and through the origin. Number 30. How would the second line, y equals 2x minus 1, be different than the first line? You shouldn't need to graph these in order to tell. You can graph them, but you shouldn't need to. Same slope, so they're going to be parallel, but how are they going to be different? The second line has a y-intercept of -1. The first line has a y-intercept of 4. So how is this bottom one different? Well, it's down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Shifted down 5 units. Look at that handwriting, that's perfect. Number 31, how would the second line be different than the first line? So we have y equals -1/2 x plus 4, y equals 2x plus 4. I see the same y-intercepts. They're going to, I guess they won't be different like the ones above, but the slopes are different. Second line has a smaller slope, so it's going to be flatter, less steep if you wanted to call it. But also I noticed they are opposite reciprocals. That is 2, that's negative 1/2, flatter, and they will be perpendicular. 32. And again, if you want to check 30 and 31 to make sure, go graph one Desmos. 32. Find the slope and the y-intercept. These are not in y equals mx plus b, so I'm going to solve them for y. Plus 4x to both sides. 2y equals 4x plus 26. Divide by 2, divide by 2. Y equals 4 over 2 is 2x plus 26 over 2 is 13. Slope is 2, y-intercept is 13. Number 33, 6x minus 12y equals 24. Get y by itself, minus 6x to both sides. Negative 12y. Don't lose that negative sign. That's a negative 12. Don't lose it. Negative 6x plus 24. Divide by negative 12. Divide by negative 12. Negative 6 over negative 12 is positive 1/2. 24 over negative 12 is negative 2. Oh, I didn't actually write it. Y equals 1/2 x minus 2. 34, very last one. Are these two lines above parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Well, all I care about here, oh goodness, what is that? Oh, I don't have a highlighter anymore. The slopes are all I care about. Slope is 2 there and 1/2 there. Those are reciprocals, but not opposite reciprocals. So they're not perpendicular. They have to be identical in order to be parallel. They're not. So neither. And that is it. 37 minutes. I was close. Good luck. Test is going to be Friday. If it is 2019, it's going to be Friday. If you're watching this in the future, then I don't know when it's going to be. But good luck.